Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely reverse engineer the very illusions of our modern reality. We're asking a massive, totally paradigm-shifting question. What if literally everything about our modern human existence, our obsession with work, the numbers in our bank accounts, even our supposed evolutionary superiority, what if it's all actually built on one colossal, foundational mistake? Get ready, because we're about to uncover the true history of humanity.
Part 1. An evolutionary mistake. The trap that condemned us to work forever. So, if you're watching this right now, maybe taking a quick, stressed-out breather in a modern office, feeling the heavy weight of the daily grind, and just wondering, man, how did it get to be this way? Well, you really need to hear this.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our ancient ancestors spent roughly 15 hours a week hunting and gathering, and that was it. The rest of their time, it was spent socializing, resting, just existing in nature. They actually had an incredibly varied, super nutrient-rich diet, and 15 hours was simply all it took to survive in a world of natural abundance. Now compare that freedom to us today. We're spending 40-plus hours a week, sometimes way more than that, completely trapped in concrete cubicles, staring at glowing screens, literally just to pay off lifelong debts. It's a completely absurd modern trap when you truly step back and think about the timeline of our species.
Which brings up a really massive question. Was agriculture humanity's greatest mistake? Now, a lot of leading anthropologists actually argue that the discovery of agriculture wasn't this ultimate triumph of human progress that we were all spoon-fed in history class. Actually, scratch that. They view it as a massive, inescapable trap that permanently captured our species. By settling down to farm, we essentially traded a varied, healthy diet for a much less nutritious dependence on singular crops like wheat. Living packed in with livestock, that introduced devastating new diseases. And because we suddenly had surplus crops to stockpile and defend, well, that gave birth to social hierarchies, forced labor, and, the very first taxes. We traded boundless, wide-open freedom just to become tied to the land and eventually tied to the modern workday.
Part 2. Miracles of Survival. The impossible coincidences of our history. Let's completely rewind the clock for a second. Because to really understand how we ended up sitting in these concrete cubicles today, we have to look at the sheer, unfiltered mystery of our past. The truth is, the story of how we got here, it's completely full of impossible coincidences.
Take the Chicxulub impactor, right? That's the giant asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. If it had arrived a mere 20 minutes earlier, the entire trajectory of life on Earth would be completely different. Because the Earth is constantly spinning, a 20-minute difference means that asteroid would have splashed down into deep, stabilizing ocean water instead of slamming into a highly flammable, sulfur-rich peninsula. That massive, planet-choking dust cloud simply wouldn't have happened to the same devastating degree. Think about that. If that cosmic timing had shifted by literally the length of your average lunch break, you simply wouldn't exist to be watching this explainer right now. Crazy, right?
Just look at the incredibly narrow window of our survival here. 66 million years ago, we survived that 20-minute asteroid margin. Awesome. But then came the Ice Age. If the Ice Age had lasted just one single century longer, it would have presented an extinction threat we absolutely couldn't overcome. In fact, anthropological research shows that at one point during this brutal freezing epoch, a massive genetic bottleneck happened. The entire global human population plummeted to just a few thousand individuals. Our whole genetic lineage came agonizingly close to being completely erased from the fossil record. Yet somehow, despite those mathematically impossible odds, here we are today.
So the crucial point is, our survival as a species rests on a razor-thin mathematical margin of error, somewhere right around 0.0001%. To really wrap your head around what that means, think about the compounding probability over millions of years. I mean, our ancestors had to survive a relentless gauntlet of planetary disasters, planet-killing asteroids, supervolcano eruptions that completely blocked out the sun, brutal ice ages freezing entire continents. When you look at the statistical probability of humanity making it through all of those consecutive, world-ending events, it feels a lot less like logical history and way more like a completely ridiculous, highly dramatized fictional script. Mathematically speaking, we were absolutely meant to fail. Part 3. The Mystery of the Brain, the genetic leap science can't explain. We've talked a lot about astronomical luck, but now we've got to shift our focus to a profound biological anomaly. We're leaning right into the single most baffling mystery of our own genetic development.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean.
For most species, it takes millions and millions of years of agonizingly slow evolution just to change a single physical trait. A slightly longer beak, a thicker coat of fur. These things take eons. But the human brain, it completely shattered that timeline. It literally doubled in size in a total evolutionary blink of an eye. The sheer, mathematically impossible speed of this cognitive explosion is just staggering.
And this brings us to a really massive scientific dilemma. The mathematics of evolution just do not add up here. Normally, evolution requires a slow, gradual environmental pressure to force a change over countless generations, right? But the human brain's sudden, massive leap in cognitive capacity, it completely outpaced any immediate survival need at the time. Early humans didn't need the mental hardware to comprehend quantum physics or build giant skyscrapers just to outsmart a saber-toothed tiger in the bush. This genetically totally breaks the standard observable rules of evolutionary time, and it remains this giant biological puzzle that continues to baffle top researchers to this day. Which leaves us staring at two wildly different hypotheses. Was this unprecedented brain growth simply a random, incredibly lucky genetic mutation? Or, as some provocatively suggest, was humanity purposefully designed to rule the planet? Now, we aren't here to endorse one viewpoint over the other, but simply to highlight just how deeply mysterious our origins really are. Because whether we're a random cosmic accident or some purposefully designed anomaly, the end result is exactly the same. We somehow ended up with a brain that is completely unlike anything else on Earth.
Part 4, the empire of fiction, the deception that built the modern world. All right, let's bring everything rapidly back to the present day to uncover the ultimate punchline of our history.
Let's move to and see how this builds our modern reality. We use that miraculous brain to create totally invisible constructs. Money, borders, corporations. These are literally the imaginary lies that completely dictate our daily lives. Just think about the utter absurdity of it for a second. We are essentially highly evolved apes walking around in tailored suits, completely exhausting ourselves over random fluctuations in the stock market, stressing out over climbing totally made-up corporate ladders, and dividing our beautiful, continuous planet with completely invisible lines. It's wonderfully ironic, isn't it? The most intelligent brain on the planet uses its immense power to invent things that aren't actually there, and then spends its entire existence stressing itself out over them.
To really grasp how absurd this is, we have to clearly redefine what is real versus what is fiction. Real means something that can be physically touched in the natural world. A towering tree, a jagged rock, a rushing river, those are real. Fiction, on the other hand, exists only because we collectively agree to believe in it. Contrast the tangible nature of the real world with the shared hallucinations that we experience every single day. Plastic credit cards, digitized bank accounts, corporate hierarchies, none of these actually exist in the physical natural environment. If human beings in our collective beliefs disappeared tomorrow, the rivers and the trees would still be there, but money would vanish in an absolute instant.
Which brings us to this incredibly powerful quote straight from our source material. The human empire was built on the unique capacity to massively believe in imaginary lies. This completely shatters our preconceived notions of modern progress. You see, our brain's grand evolutionary leap wasn't just about making better physical tools out of stone or steel. No, it was directly linked to our capacity for shared fiction. This specific ability to invent and believe in stories is what allows us to cooperate so flexibly in massive, massive numbers. It's the only reason millions of complete strangers can work together in a sprawling city or trade goods across entire oceans. That collective hallucination isn't just some weird byproduct of our intelligence. It is the actual structural foundation of the entire modern world.
Which leaves us with a really profound, lingering question. Did we really evolve? Or did we just fall into a trap? Think about it. We started out completely free. We survived literally impossible cosmic odds to develop this miraculously powerful brain, only to use that very brain to invent a completely fictional world, one that forces us to work endlessly. So the next time you clock into your concrete cubicle or you swipe a little piece of plastic to buy your morning coffee, take a moment to ask yourself about the true fabric of our reality. Are we actually the masters of this world, or are we just the victims of our own imagination? It is absolutely fascinating stuff to explore. Keep questioning everything, and I really hope this explainer leaves you hungry to dive into the source material.